everybody, it's Nick with Triple Nickel Outdoors. There's been something that I've been wanting to test out, and that is if the width of your hammock is affected by using an underquilt or a pad. We're going to set up the hammock, we're going to attach the quilts, we're going to lay with a pad and see if you're still able to use the entire body of the hammock and get its full potential. So we're in my Dream Hammock Thunderbird. We're going to also use a Dream Hammock Sparrow. The Thunderbird is cut to a width of 74 inches and the Sparrow is cut to a width of 67 inches. So I'm going to set it up. I'm going to hang a piece of string from the ceiling to let you see where my feet end up using the hammock body by itself, then attaching the underquilt and see if it ends up in the same area or if it's shortened a little bit because underquilt is pinching in a little bit. So let's get the gear set up and we'll take some measurements. So like I said before, this is my Dream Hammock Thunderbird. Got it cut to a width of 74 inches. All right. You can see the string that I hung down from the ceiling. Just to give you a quick, or just to give you a rough estimate as to where my feet come down when I'm laying in this hammock without an underquilt or a pad inside, by us just using the hammock body itself. So this is a pretty comfortable lay. We're using the entire width of the hammock, and you can see where my feet are using this. So now what I want to do is I want to hook up the underquilt, and we'll put the pad in there also, so I can show you where our feet end up and where our body position ends up when you use the underquilt or the pad. So this is a Neo Air X-Therm. This is a long model. It's 77 inches long and 25 inches wide. We're on the pad pretty good. But once again, this is not 100% scientifically accurate, so I don't want you to get mad at me that, I don't have pinpoint data. So this is pretty good. Yeah, so it looks like there's a couple inches to the left that when you're using a pad, it kind of finds its own position. And you can see a little bit of the materials left over, flapping. But I think it's pretty, you're pretty much getting a pretty good amount of use out of the hammock body. So let's go on the shoulder. Let's hook up we'll hook up one of the underquilts. We'll hook up the hammock gear incubator and see how that looks. So this is a hammock gear incubator, 40 degree. It's the long model, which is it's 83 inches long and 44 inches wide. I don't know if you can see that. I put a little piece of shock cord on my left shoulder, this little ring right here. And I have these underquilt hooks on my hammock. So I clip these in and that keeps the hammock stationary to exactly where I want it on my shoulder. All right, so now we're positioned underneath. We're positioned in the hammock with the underquilt. So once again, you can see that my feet are probably 6 inches off of where the hammock, where my feet were with just the hammock body. So, if this thing is 44 inches wide, it's kind of coming up and cocooning us, so you're not getting the full use of this extra material. If we try and go like this, now this is coming out from us, so this is pretty much how we have to lay in it, right like that. So that's where we end up with this excess material. You could possibly stake this out and it'll pull the material off of you, but for the most part still we're getting about maybe like 6 inches, maybe a little bit more, maybe 8-inch difference between where our feet were before and where they are now using the 44-inch wide underquilt. I don't know how much flap there is right here. Yeah, maybe like maybe a foot of material. But you can definitely tell that it's, it is flapping. So this is This is 44 inches wide. Now we're going to use the underground quilt Zeppelin, and I have that cut at 48 inches. So we'll see if we can get a little bit further out. Just like the hammock gear incubator, it's 83 inches long, but this model that I got is 48 inches wide. I got this model with 1/8 inch shock cord. Gives it a little bit more structural stability, lifts it up. So on these Zeppelins, you can get a pack hook mod, which means they have this exposed piece of shock cord running through this channel that allows you to clip the shoulder underquilt hook right to it. So that keeps it stationary on your left shoulder. You can tell how the 4 inches really gave it a little bit more lift, or a little bit more protection coming over the top. If we push this out, I want to push it. This is comfortable right here. So you can see a little less flapping fabric on this quilt combo, and we're probably, there's a couple inch difference being closer to that cord. So the 4 inches on the wider quilt gave us a little bit more width with getting the full diagonal lay, like we weren't using anything. Okay, so that was the testing using our 74 inch Thunderbird. Now I'm going to do the same testing using the Sparrow, which is cut to 67 inches. So I just laid in it, I marked it from the ceiling, and try to get as accurate a similar lay using this underquilt hook to my shoulder. So you can see using the whole hammock body. You know, this one is 67 inches, the other one was 74. So there's a 7 inch difference right there, which is roughly the differences in the string distance from one another. As far as I'm concerned, this hammock is closer to what I think is a good fit for me as far as width goes. It gives me still a comfortable lay that I was happy with. This one, the Thunderbird went wider, but I don't necessarily think that I gained comfort because of that additional width. So I'm happy with the 67 inch. And you can see that this is where it ends up when you get to that diagonal lay. So now we'll put the pad in, see in relation to where the string is if we get somewhere close to it. Okay, so it looks like the pad found, you know, a good spot that it wants to lay in. And we're pretty close to the string again. So once again, there could be some things that are, you know, not 100% accurate as far as this testing goes. But it looks like using a pad with this width, we're getting pretty close to full use of the width of the body of the hammock. There's a little bit of flapping going on. Alright, so now let's hook up the incubator and see where that leads us. You could see, once again, we have a couple more inches of flapping with the excess material. But for the most part, we're maybe a couple inches in from where our feet were without using anything underneath the hammock. But this is pretty close to both pieces of gear kind of working together, where you're getting full use of the hammock body and the underquilt is giving you the ability to get diagonal. Yeah, that's almost right there. Getting good coverage on both. Alright, that's pretty good. Alright, so now let's do the 48ers. The extra 4 inches on this underquilt, you can see we have a lot more coverage. We're at it. This is, you know, this is pretty good. I think even this underquilt, if we didn't have that, if it was down to 44, you know, that's a good fit. So that's good. We're getting full use of the hammock body once again. We have a little bit more coverage now with this little wider underquilt. This combination does work well together also. So unfortunately, I don't have a regular width hammock to test these two against. Through the Dream Hammock website, regular Hyper D fabric is 60 inches wide, cut to 58 inches. And the Hyper D XL fabric, once again, just to reiterate, is 76 inches, cut down to 74. So my main reason for wanting to do this test is to show that I think if you were to go for anywhere, from my personal experience, up to around 67 inches, you're pretty much going to get full use of your hammock in combination with your underquilts or pad. If you're looking to save weight, if you're a shorter person, you don't need to go that wide, then anything in that range should be fine for you to get full use of both of your equipment. Now, the 74-inch Thunderbird that we also tested, I think from doing the testing that we did, I didn't lose any comfort by going to this width fabric. So everyone's personal opinion might differ. Someone might want a wider hammock just because they like that extra width. I'm not saying which it's right or wrong. I'm just going by the testing that we did. The main reason why I like this version a little bit more than the 74-inch version is because there was less material flapping around. You're going to save a little bit of weight because it's 7 inches less throughout the whole length of the hammock. Both of the hammocks that we tested were 11 feet long. So, you know what, that's pretty much all I wanted to show you. And if you're looking to purchase a hammock and you're looking to decide on a width, then take this information, use it for your benefit, and if there's any other questions, feel free to comment. If you have any tips that I might be able to learn from as far as maybe being able to get the underquilts to move more in line with your body, to get more diagonal with you, please feel free to share those tips because I would love to learn different techniques to make it a more comfortable experience. Other than that, this is Nick with Triple Nickel Outdoors. Get out there and hang.